I'm going to tell you the bone-chilling story of my encounter with a super creepy patient in the hospital ward. I've always been drawn to the medical field because I've always done well caring for others. I'm a 23-year-old woman who works at my local hospital on night shifts. One night, I entered room 307, where it was a single bedroom. And there lying in the bed was Mr. Jacobson, an elderly patient in his late 80s who was a terminal patient and blind in both eyes. He was a wise person who was perfectly okay with nearing the end of his journey. I want to mention that we developed a friendly liking for each other. I tried not to get too closely attached to patients who were not going to be here for much longer, as it really did a number on my mental health. As I approached his bedside, Mr. Jacobson turned his head towards me, and his clouded eyes looked at me, his voice raspy as he spoke. "The nurse has arrived. I'd been expecting you, my dear." I smiled back and said, "Good evening, Mr. Jacobson, how are you feeling today?" He chuckled softly. His laugh was always comforting, as it reminded me that things will be okay in the long run of life. Feeling, "Oh my dear, I'm but a mere vessel drifting between realms. Time doesn't hold much meaning for me now," he said. It was the strangest thing that I've ever heard him say since my time of nursing him. I knew of him to be poetic and deep, but this was extremely strange behavior for him. I tried the best I could to decipher what he meant, but nothing was making sense. Confused and super creeped out, I asked, "What do you mean, Mr. Jacobson?" "Like a butterfly, you will too awaken in my own time very soon, my love." Those words hit me hard. They were exactly what my late grandmother used to say. A reminder that change and growth come at their own pace. How did Mr. Jacobson know this? I began to tear up from the intense emotions I was feeling. I was scared yet confused. I couldn't hold back my curiosity any longer. My voice trembling, I asked, How did you know about that phrase? It's something that only my grandmother used to say." Mr. Jacobson's tired eyes met mine, and a look of sadness appeared on his face. "Some connections go beyond life." We both cried together, holding on to that moment. I didn't want to understand everything that had happened, but it made me feel something deep inside. Mr. Jacobson's words about my grandmother were like a secret, something I couldn't explain, but held on to dearly. As time passed, I kept those words close to my heart. They brought me comfort when I felt lost or unsure. I think that my grandmother's love extended beyond her passing, gave me strength and hope. Now, standing here today, I carry the wisdom of those connected voices. I embrace the mystery and the things I can't fully understand. Mr. Jacobson's encounter showed me that there are connections that go beyond time and space, and they give us a sense of purpose and guidance. So I continue on my journey with newfound strength and an open mind. The mysteries of life unfold before me like a butterfly emerging from his cocoon. I was just a regular 29-year-old girl living my life and trying to make a difference as a nurse. Working at the hospital was both exciting and challenging. One day there was this patient named Edward Dawson who came with a broken leg. From the moment I met him, something about him felt really off. His intense gaze made my skin crawl. Usually we can get some pretty weird patients, but this one was completely different. The vibes were all off with him, and it made me super uncomfortable. He stayed in the hospital for a few days because we needed to perform some extra surgery for his leg. But as time went on, it felt like he was becoming weirdly fixated on me. He would constantly ask me questions I was not okay with, and even being extremely inappropriate to me, which he got yelled at for by other nursing staff. About a month after his release, I never saw him again, and was happy because it was by far the weirdest patient I've had in my years of working as a nurse. One day, as I was preparing medication at the nurse's station, I heard a whisper from the right side of me go, "Beautiful eyes, Emily. You can see so much in them." I froze and looked, and guess who it was? Edward. I was shocked. I looked at him and asked him how he had become a nurse so fast. "He's finished nursing school," he said, "and I just so happened to get placed here." Crazy, right? He laughed as if this was all one funny joke we shared. From that moment on, Edward seemed to be following me everywhere. He would show up unexpectedly in the corridors or outside the hospital, always watching me while I would do simple tasks. He somehow got a hold of my number, and then he started sending me text messages filled with disturbingly intimate details about my personal life. I was terrified, because I don't know how he would know all this information, but I assumed one of the coworkers was telling him everything about me, so I tried to brush it off. One evening as I left the hospital after a long shift, I noticed a dark figure standing across the street. My heart skipped a beat when I realized that it was Edward standing there watching me, and he didn't move. I quickened my pace, trying not to make eye contact, and I got in my car. After this happened, the text messages from Edward became more frequent and way more disturbing. Reference moments from my day, things he couldn't possibly know unless he had been following me. At this point, it really started to freak me out, and I didn't want to be alone at night. One night, I finally got a chance to let loose and have some fun with my friends. We went to a local hangout spot, laughing and enjoying each other's company. It was a much-needed break from the stress of work. As the night went on, my phone buzzed with a notification. I looked at it and my heart sank. It was a message from my home security system's Ring camera showing activity at my house. My friends noticed a change in my expression and asked me what was wrong. "Edward, guys," I muttered, my voice trembling. "My security camera caught him walking around my house in the middle of the night." My friends were now also super freaked out. "Emily, this is serious," Lisa exclaimed. "You have to call the cops now, and we should get somewhere that's not in public." We left immediately and went to Lisa's house. That was the only one of us in the group that Edward had never talked to, because she doesn't work at the hospital with us. We got back to her house, and we sat down to watch him over the Ring camera as we called the police. Edward was trying to break in. He tried everything, lifting the window, to climbing on my roof, to trying to break down the door. The police told me that they were prioritized my and my friend's safety first after they showed up at Lisa's house. As we waited for them to arrive, my friend stayed by my side, providing comfort and support. They arrested Edward almost immediately when they got to my house. Weeks after this happened, they started an investigation, and they came to find out he wasn't even a real doctor. He was impersonating one and worked there for weeks. I could barely sleep after knowing I had a stalker for months and had zero idea. All the information he gotten was from my medical records that he happened to secretly grab while at the hospital. Still to this day, I think about it from time to time, but I haven't heard a single thing about him